What if I told you that one of the deadliest disasters in London's history wasn't caused by fire, war, or disease, but by beer? Yes, a tidal wave of beer, 15 feet high, swept through the streets of London, drowning people in their own homes. This is the unbelievable true story of the London beer flood of 1814. It was October 17th, 1814. London, a city teeming with life and industry, was in the throes of the Industrial Revolution. The air was thick with coal smoke and the sounds of machinery filled the streets. In the very heart of this bustling metropolis on Tottenham Court Road stood the Mew & Company Brewery. It was more than just a brewery, it was a sprawling industrial complex, a testament to London's brewing prowess. This massive facility brewed thousands upon thousands of barrels of beer each and every week, quenching the thirst of a rapidly growing city. Inside the brewery's cavernous interior, amidst the clanging of metal and the shouts of workers, was a giant vat. This wasn't just any vat, it was a behemoth. Standing an impressive 22 feet tall, it held over 135,000 gallons of fermenting porter. This dark, rich brew, porter, was one of the most popular beers in all of London at the time, a staple for the working class and a favourite in taverns across the city. Its popularity fueled the brewery's relentless production. But there was a problem, a looming threat that no one could ignore. That vat, the heart of the operation, was old, showing its age with every creak and groan. It was held together by nothing more than aging iron hoops, and perhaps a little bit of hope that it would withstand the immense pressure within. At around 4:30 in the afternoon, disaster struck. One of the iron hoops suddenly snapped. With a deafening crack, the massive vat exploded, sending a chain reaction through the brewery. Other vats nearby burst under the pressure. In total, over 323,000 gallons of beer were released in seconds, enough to fill 500,000 pint glasses. A wave of beer, 15 feet high, smashed through the brewery walls and into the streets. It crashed into nearby homes and pubs, flattening everything in its path. The neighbourhood of St Giles was one of the poorest and most densely populated areas in London. Overcrowding was rampant, and sanitation was virtually non-existent. Many of its residents lived in basement rooms, tiny, dark underground homes that offered little protection from the elements or the dangers lurking in the city's underbelly. These were the forgotten people of London, struggling to survive in the shadows of Victorian prosperity. As the beer wave roared through the streets, a dark, frothy torrent of destruction, it rushed into these cellars with incredible force. The sheer volume of liquid, combined with the narrow confines of the streets, created a surge of power that no one could have anticipated. People had no time to react. The beer was upon them in an instant, a crushing wave of alcoholic devastation. Walls, already weakened by damp and age, collapsed under the pressure. Floors caved in, unable to withstand the sudden weight of the beer and the force of the water. Makeshift homes, cobbled together with scraps and hope, were simply washed away. Families were buried alive, trapped beneath the rubble of their shattered dwellings, victims of a freak accident turned deadly disaster. In one tragic case, a mother and daughter were enjoying a rare moment of peace, having tea in their small basement room when the flood hit. The window shattered and a wall of beer surged into their home. They were swept away in an instant, their lives extinguished without warning, a poignant reminder of the indiscriminate nature of the disaster. 8 people died in the chaos, a number that seems small in the grand scheme of history but represented unimaginable loss for those affected. Most of them drowned in the beer, or were crushed in their homes, their lives cut short by a bizarre and preventable accident. The tragedy highlighted the vulnerability of the poor and the precariousness of life in Victorian London. The aftermath was horrifying, a scene of utter devastation. Streets were soaked in sticky, dark beer, a thick, pungent layer coating everything in its path. Debris was scattered everywhere, a testament to the destructive power of the flood. The smell lingered for days, a constant reminder of the tragedy that had befallen St Giles. Bodies were pulled from the wreckage, a grim task for the rescue workers who tirelessly searched for survivors. Local pubs, already struggling to stay afloat, were destroyed, their livelihoods washed away with the beer. And many poor families, already living on the edge, lost their only shelter, their meagre possessions swept away by the flood. But something even more bizarre and unsettling happened next. a strange twist in an already unbelievable story. Crowds of people from nearby areas came running to the scene, not to help the victims, not to offer assistance, but to drink the spilled beer. They scooped up the dark liquid from the gutters with cups, pans, even their bare hands, eager to partake in the alcoholic bounty, seemingly oblivious to the tragedy that had just unfolded. Some drank so much of the contaminated beer, a mixture of alcohol, sewage and debris, that doctors later reported cases of severe alcohol poisoning, some of which proved fatal. Tragically, these deaths were never officially added to the death toll, lost in the chaos and confusion of the aftermath, a final indignity for the victims of the London beer flood. The aftermath of the London beer flood left a community devastated, grappling with unimaginable loss. As the dust settled, a crucial question loomed large. Who would be held accountable for this unprecedented disaster? The families of the deceased, the injured, and those who lost their homes and livelihoods desperately sought justice. They needed someone to answer for the tragedy that had befallen them. You might be wondering now, who was held responsible? Shockingly, no one. An official court convened to investigate the incident, meticulously examining the evidence and hearing testimonies. But in a stunning and controversial decision, the court ruled the beer flood as an act of God. This archaic legal term, typically reserved for natural disasters beyond human control, was applied to a man-made catastrophe. The brewery, Murr and Company, faced no legal repercussions for the disaster. They didn't pay compensation to the families of the victims, leaving them to bear the burden of their grief and financial ruin alone. In fact, in a move that added insult to injury, they even got a refund on the beer tax they lost due to the spill. This financial reprieve helped them avoid bankruptcy, allowing them to continue their operations as if nothing had happened. It was a time when corporate accountability meant almost nothing, especially when the victims were poor. The working-class residents of St. Giles, already marginalized and vulnerable, found themselves powerless against the might of a wealthy and influential corporation. The legal system, rather than providing justice, seemed to protect the interests of the powerful, further exacerbating the existing inequalities. Despite the horror and the loss, the London beer flood faded from public memory. The event, so devastating for those who lived through it, slowly receded into the annals of history. It became a strange footnote, a bizarre anecdote more than a national tragedy. The stories of the victims, the details of the disaster, and the injustice that followed were largely forgotten by the wider world. Today, there's only a small plaque in London to remember the event. Tucked away on a quiet street, it serves as a silent reminder of the tragedy that unfolded there. Most people walk past it, never knowing that a tsunami of beer once roared through these very streets, claiming lives and leaving a lasting scar on the community. Here's the shocking part. The London beer flood released more liquid than some modern-day tsunamis. The sheer volume of beer unleashed upon the unsuspecting streets was staggering. It was one of the strangest industrial disasters in history, a reminder that danger doesn't always come from fire or steel. Sometimes it arrives in the most unexpected and seemingly harmless forms. Sometimes it comes from a barrel of beer. So next time you raise your glass for a drink, just remember, in 1814 beer wasn't just a drink, it wasn't just a social lubricant or a refreshing beverage. It was a deadly force of nature, capable of unleashing destruction and forever altering the lives of those caught in its path. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more shocking stories from history.